Get ready for a cold morning start tomorrow, but actually a pretty nice warm up through the day. So just have the jacket handy throughout, gloves maybe early, and sunglasses for a good chunk of the day as we are going to have clearing skies. Notice that the freeze concerns kind of stretching along and north of the interstate corridor for early tomorrow morning. Duration expected to be 2 to 7 hours. Now we're not expected to get cold enough or cold enough long enough for hard freeze conditions to occur. So that means the reason why the pipes are not checked. But check in on those people that don't have reliable heat. Bring in the outdoor pets to make sure they have adequate shelter. And then also for the plants, if you have some sensitive vegetation that you want to try and save, either cover it or bring it inside. So we'll start the morning off cold in the low 30s. We only topped out in the mid 40s today, so we don't have much far to kind of drop towards that freezing mark. A big reason why we're expected to kind of get to that. You'll notice though, closing in on 60 degrees by the afternoon and between 1 and 4 o'clock. I do expect daytime highs to climb into the low 60s. We will see increasing clouds as we move through the day, especially as we move through the evening hours as we await the arrival of our next disturbance that's going to bring us rain on Thursday. For tomorrow's highs, you can see 60s on the board. We should be 67, so we're going to still be below average, but a little bit closer to average than we were today when we only topped out in the mid 40s. So let's give you a first alert to what we're tracking next in terms of some of our weather impacts. So we've got that freeze in the forecast for tomorrow, but it's a brief light freeze, so really not a huge issue there in terms of impact. Now you'll note we will have some heavy rain in the forecast for Thursday and could have persistent rain through a good chunk of the morning hours, so we could have some problems out there for the morning commute on Thursday. Friday, Saturday, lingering rains in the forecast, maybe a pocket or two of heavy rainfall, so we'll put maybe the yellow mark in terms of any impacts there should be fairly light in nature, and then by Sunday all is in the clear and no weather impacts expected. So here's the timing of how things kind of play out. I mentioned clouds building as we go through the day tomorrow, so here's a snapshot of 7 o'clock in the evening according to Futurecast, but it is dry, but doesn't stay dry for long. As we get into those pre-dawn hours on Thursday, here comes the rain, and watch how it just stays persistent and at times heavy, especially south of the interstate corridor down towards the coastal parishes through the morning hours. But by the time we get towards lunchtime, may get a break for inland areas, but notice down here along the coast that persistent rain could last all the way into the afternoon. But for inland areas, we may get a break. Could be temporary though. Notice some passing showers kind of working their way through late afternoon into the early evening, and then we may get another lull as we go into the overnight on Friday. But watch what happens as we get into Friday afternoon. Here comes more showers and even a few thunderstorms. So we're expecting multiple rounds of rain to be moving through, often on variety, it looks like, through the day on Friday, but maybe more of a persistent nature in terms of the rain, especially in spots for our Thursday. And because of that, notice how we have the higher rainfall totals estimated closer to the coast, down south of the interstate corridor where that persistent threat will exist. As you go farther towards the north, a little bit less, but still decent numbers here. We're talking 2 to 3 inches widespread on average, with some localized pockets of 4+ inches of rain being possible across our area. Now this takes us all the way through Saturday, so we've got likely rain chances Thursday, likely rain chances Friday, and then of the scattered variety on Saturday. So through that 3-day stretch, if we can spread out all that 2 to 3 inches of rain, I think flood concerns will be very minimal. Our probably biggest concern for any nuisance type street flooding is going to be early on Thursday with that persistent rain, which could be heavy at times. With the rain and the clouds, we'll see those daytime highs back down into the 50s for Thursday and Friday after rebounding to the low 60s tomorrow. Kind of close to normal, at least a little bit below normal as we go into the early part of next week, but some pretty nice weather, it looks like, at least for Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. So once we get the rain out of here, looks like a couple of really nice weather days.